Growing up in the 2000s, we've all heard the doubts of video games and technology from parents. Most kids who grew up with the emergence of technology have heard some version of, "Those phones are going to rot your brain." Whatever new technology comes about, there's lots of controversy and doubt, and often a negative stance is taken at the beginning. Today we have more research and studies on children and technology, and is constantly being looked at as it becomes even more wound into our everyday lives. Yet, we still hear these things said, and furthermore, some of the studies show that some of them are somewhat slightly true, but others couldn't be further from the truth. One study by Michigan State University scholars on about 500 kids found that the more kids played video games, the more creative they were. No matter the genre, games boost and strengthen creativity, teamwork, problem-solving, and other skills kids need to learn. If we do narrow down the genre, we can see how they can specifically strengthen certain areas. For example, playing sandbox games like Minecraft or Animal Crossing is a great creative outlet. First-person multiplayer shooting games such as Overwatch, Call of Duty, and CSGO rely on teamwork and strategy. The name of the genre puzzle speaks for itself, and games such as DDR and Just Dance almost seem like just exercises and not video games with how active they are. Of course, the classic topic of violence in video games has to be touched on. Video games came about starting with Pac-Man and Space Invaders and have evolved into a broad spectrum of games from Roblox to Final Fantasy to Undertale and any of the thousands of others in the many genres. The sudden rise and expansion of games sparked disapproval from parents and society in general. There's still research being done on the common debate of if violent video games cause aggression or not, but the answer leans to it having little correlation. One study done in 2020 published in the journal Royal Society Open Science found evidence that it does, but in very minuscule amounts, and not enough to even consider classifying it as having a small effect. Some still have correlated video games to shootings as a motive. In 2019, there's a mass shooting in an El Paso Walmart, and many were quick to jump to the conclusion of video games being the cause, especially since the shooter made a brief reference to Call of Duty in a manifesto he wrote. In reality, it was clear to see his motive was ethnic hatred, as his manifesto more clearly stated that he acted as, in quotes, a response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas, end quotes, and he targeted Latinos as his victims. Another concern that's been researched on and proved that it needs to be watched is screen time. It's true that too much is bad, and though that number is often debated on, it's currently at a consensus of 2 hours. What's often not taken into consideration, though, is active versus passive screen time. Watching TV would be considered passive, and activities such as video chats with family and video games are considered active. Binging the latest Netflix hit is different from playing Beat Saber or Portal. During the pandemic, schooling has switched to online, and much of it is still that way. Sandbox games, whether more traditional ones such as Terraria or ones not always thought of as sandbox like Fallout 4, can be used in school to help with education. Imagine learning about driving rules through GTA or about engineering and physics with Scrap Mechanic. The one and only thing I took away from my personal finance class sophomore year of high school was about buying property, when we had to build a house in Minecraft and calculate the cost. All in all, video games have received a bad rap from lack of information, and now we have the research to not only disprove those false beliefs, but we can see how video games can be beneficial too. Video games are better than just watching TV or a movie, and claims about violence and aggression caused by games are exaggerated. Bringing and allowing video games into children's lives can benefit them by giving them a creative outlet, help them with skills like problem solving and teamwork, and even help their social life, as they can play with and meet friends online.